Well, hello! As we've talked about before, chords are groups of three or more notes that are played together as one. Now, there are many different types of chords, and today we're going to go over the naming of different chords, what their differences are, and what they sound like. What I have shown here is a major chord, and for all these examples, I'm going to be using variations of C, where C is the root note. So this is C major, which is made up of C, E, and G. The interval from C to E is a major third, and the interval from C to G is a fifth, and together, C major. So here we have C, E, and G. And together, people often describe major chords as sounding light and bright. And here we have a minor chord, in this case C minor. We still have that first and fifth, C to G, but that E, the third, has been brought down a half step to be E flat. That interval of a major third is now a minor third. And together C, E flat, and G sound like this. People often describe minor chords as sounding darker and serious. And here we have suspended chords, often written just as sus. In this case, it's sus2. In a sus2 chord, the third is omitted, and instead the second is added in its place. So we get C, D, and G, which sound like this. And then we have sus4, which, like the sus2, has that third removed, but instead of adding a second, we add the fourth, F. C, F, and G, and it sounds like this. Now we have a diminished chord, which is sometimes just written as dim. The first two notes begin with C and E flat, that same minor third interval, but the fifth is brought down a half step. It's diminished a half step to give us C, E flat, and G flat in the case of C diminished. It sounds like this. Something about diminished chords sound almost mysterious. Augmented chords begin similar to a major chord with the interval of a major third, here C to E, but the fifth, instead of being brought down a half step, as in the case of diminished, is brought up a half step to G sharp, or A flat. Sounds like this. There's something sort of inquisitive sounding in it, and there's a good degree of tension. So now we have seventh chords, which begins with C, E, and G, just like C major, but now we add B flat to it. Now, you'll notice that this isn't the note that is the seventh degree in the C major scale. That's because when you see just 7 written after a chord, it's the dominant seventh. So that's a half step down from that B that would exist as a 7th degree in the C major scale. It sounds like this. Now we have major 7, which is just like the 7th. We start with C, E, and G, except that B is the B that is in the C major scale. So if you looked at the C major scale, you'd notice that we're taking the first note, skipping the second, adding the third, skipping the fourth, adding the fifth, skipping the sixth, and adding the seventh. And we get this. Now we have a ninth, so start with the seventh, and then add what the ninth degree would be, which is the same as the second degree, up an octave. So we get C, E, G, B flat, same as C7, and then add 2 more up from the 7 to get us to the ninth degree, and this is what it sounds like. Now, this is something you might see. A chord followed by the word add and then some number. In this example, we are using 9, which means the ninth degree. Now, instead of what we did with the ninth chord, this is just C add the 9. If you saw add 12, then add the 12th degree. You just take the chord that is before the word add, play that, and then add only whatever note it says to add. So here we have C, E, G, and then that ninth, D, which together, C add 9, is this. Last, I'm going to talk about inversions. Now we know the chord C major is made up of the notes C, E, and G. So far we've seen them where the C is on the bottom, the E stacked on top of it, and the G on top of that. But they can be played in different orders. If we were to take that C on the bottom and bring it up an octave, so it's above the E and the G, then we would still have the chord C major, but we would say that it's in first inversion. And if we did that again and took that E and brought it up above the G, above that C, then that would be second inversion. If we did that one more time with that G and brought that up, then we'd be right back to where we started, but an octave up. So I'm going to play the chord C major, and then play what first and second inversion C majors sound like. So, a bit of a shorter video today, and certainly hope this was helpful. Now, these chord terms come up quite a lot in music, so this will certainly be useful knowledge. If you're interested in seeing more as I go further into music theory, then please do subscribe. But until then, have a marvelous day.